Sorry, yeah. Like, he, you know, you led a peaceful protest at the Venetian back in May. What happened?
Well, first, let me say, I can't say I led because I believe that to lead something takes a group effort. So,
Yeah.
all shades, we did not lead this, but we were part of the group that helped host this. But as a collective, the community of Las Vegas, we came together to lead a peaceful protest to basically try to go against what we see took place 2 weeks prior when she was killed. And we organized peacefully in front of Venetian. We was not in the exact area where he was killed, but we felt like it was on that property, so anywhere would do. But we got in front of their property, we had a peaceful protest, and then we planned to do civil disobedience. Why? Mainly because we felt that we have to make some noise. You know, sometimes, you know, you can't say no justice, no peace. That's not gonna get no attention. But if you kick the door in and say, boom, no justice, no peace, now once you get in, the door's open. And you don't have to go in and start flipping tables. You're in at this point. Once you get in, then you can say no justice, no peace, because now you have the attention. So us getting in that street was kicking the door down, you know, and once we got in that street and was blocking them vehicles from driving to work and to the airport and to gamble, now we had your attention, you know, and we felt that, you know, Vegas lives by this code, or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know, nobody knew what happened a week prior, 2 weeks prior. But after you know, we blocked that strip, and because of that, we were arrested. Several of us was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and interrupting public traffic. Tashee's story was being told. And that's what it was about, was to get his name out, to get his story out. Because we feel, you know, if the family of Tashee Brown Farmer can get justice, then more families have an opportunity and have more of a shot to get justice. And not just in Nevada, but abroad, you know, and that's what it's about, is that we are one. Oppressed people are one group. And there are several communities in the oppressed community, but we gotta work with each other. And if one family from the oppressed community can get justice, then it gives us all hope that we all can get justice for any type of racist attack or systematically racist attack. So that's what it was about. So in spite of that, we was arrested, but, you know, we felt like it was a blessing in disguise.
So, otherwise, how did you feel when you and several others were arrested and placed in police vehicles, while the one person who did turn violent, who attacked another protester, was cuffed but then just released?
Well, I felt like this. I always felt that, you know, the person that's negative is always going to be the person that's going to be treated positively.
Yeah.
And the people that's positive are always going to be treated negatively. You know, you got to go back, you know, historically, anybody that's ever tried to bring change has always been treated as the negative people, you know, or the negative person. Dr. King was considered a terrorist. You know, the Black Panthers were considered terrorists. Dr. King preached peace and love, and the Panthers, you know, fed children and organized us to be unified. So when we were apprehended and he wasn't, I wasn't surprised, because you have to understand that what he did was an act of racism. He was upset. He had a hat that symbolized racism, which is Make America Great Again. So we wasn't surprised. You know, you can't expect, you know, one member of the group turn another member of the group. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Racism is racism. So when we were arrested and he wasn't, I wasn't surprised, because I personally feel that every police department is rooted in racism. So if the police departments are rooted in racism and he's a racist, why would he be arrested? You know, because they viewed us as the ones, we was the troublemakers, we was the rebel routes, we was the ones that was wrong for blocking public traffic. But it wasn't the fact that we blocked the traffic, it was the fact that what caused us to block this traffic. You know, Dr. King quoted Victor Hugo, and he said, wherever darkness is, crimes will be committed. You gotta ask yourself, who's causing this darkness? Was it us blocking the street, or was it the Metro Police killing Tashee to cause us to block the street? So we wasn't surprised. You know, we took that, you know, we took that whole situation as a blessing, you know, and a curse, because like I said, at the end of the day, you know, yes, we were arrested, but like I said, you know, it opened the door. It opened the door to us being close to getting justice for Tashee's family.
And finally, in the past 72 or so hours, we've seen all sorts all sorts of statements from politicians, other community leaders, condemning the violence in Charlottesville. But what do you think we actually need to do, what we can actually start doing to address the root cause, to address what fueled that violence in Virginia?
Well, I think I love to see so many visuals are taking place, so many church gatherings, so many community gatherings, so many protests. This is what we need, because number one, we need to be in spaces where we can start to educate each other on really what racism is. I think a lot of us think racism is somebody being called the N-word or a racist slur. Racism is a power thing, and we need to start, looking at it like that. And we have to start with education. Ida B. Wells said, before we can act, we must learn. We have to go back to the basics and start teaching each other about these symbols. Like I said, start removing these racist monuments. These things should have been removed. Start, taking certain presidents who own slaves off our dollar bills and put heroes on this money. Put those who actually contribute to making this, at least making it somewhat better for us. Put them on the dollar bills. Start taking Andrew Jackson and naming Harriet Tubman. This is how you bring change. Take George Washington Academy and make it Cesar Chavez Academy. This is how you bring change.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to first start understanding what's the problem and understand who's causing the problem. Many of us are saying Donald Trump's the cause. Donald Trump's not the cause. He's a fruit of a tree. Like I said before, America has been sowing something since this country was founded, and now we're reaping the harvest.
Yeah.
In order for this harvest to stop, we have to go to the root and pull it up. But you can't pull something up that you don't know what you should be pulling. So you got to first acknowledge this is bad weeds. This is not fertile enough. This is not going to grow good crop. Then you pull. We have not even came to the point to acknowledge that racism is here yet. We're taking this Charlottesville situation as like this is the first act of racism we have ever seen in this country. No, this is many acts of racism. Anytime somebody black or brown is killed by the police, that's an act of racism. Let's treat that just as serious as Charlottesville. So we have to start making a distinction between certain acts of racism and pin it all in one bowl. So I think step one is education. It's important for groups and organizations who are in churches and other temples and mosques who are against racism to use your spaces to start teaching what's going on. Take it back as far as you can and start saying, what it is, call a spade a spade. And once we all say, okay, now I get it, now we can start moving and start changing things. But we can't change something we don't think is a problem. We're still blaming Donald Trump, and he's not the cause of this. Neither is the police. The system of white supremacy is the cause. That is the main seed. That's the tree that we need to cut. So we can dismantle that, then everything will fall in place, because there's white supremacy and racism in every entity, every institution. So we can start with the education. I believe that everything will come together. But as far as what we can do as a community, black, white, brown, yellow, and red, is love each other. Love is our most powerful weapon we can use. And if we just come together to unify, that will bring change. I definitely urge all white people to, number one, use your power. Realize you have power, and as a person of color, I don't. Use your position of privilege to speak against this, because white silence is violence. If you do not speak up against what's going on, then you are just as bad as those that's doing this and all of that. You're just not doing the symbols, but in your heart you feel that way. So you may not show that, but you feel that way because you're not speaking against it. So we need people, who are white to speak against it. We need communities of color to start demanding your power. Get your red power, your brown power, your black power, your yellow power. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're powerless. I personally believe that God has given us all the spirit of power. We just got to execute it. And to do that means we got to love each other, because you can't demand something that you don't respect and that you don't love. So you can love yourself, you can love your neighbors, and we can love each other. Then that's going to dismantle this hatred, because hatred is on the rise. Like I said, we're in a good position. This is a wake-up call. This is a call to action. Let's look at it like that. And let's take this as, I'm not going to say a positive thing, but as a positive thing, because now we know what it is.
Yeah.
And now we know how to target the situation. But we got to love each other, and and I want people to, despite of all this hatred that's going on, still find it in your heart, to love, those who may not love us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, love is powerful. Love can change any individual.